Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to start the teaching aids in yoga and its importance. Mr. Comenius said the foundation of all learning consisting in representing clearly to the senses sensible object so that they can be appreciated easily. So there are different kinds or types of aids that we used. A teacher should use maximum possible channel like motor or sense organ through which student can understand the subject matter along with its skill. Even the touch modality may be applied to get better understanding like Uddiyana, Nauli and Agnisara. This modality can be used for the blind people. Various model of yogic practices can be used even for the blind people. It is to use all possible channel through the ear like gramophone, radio. Second, the eyes like picture movie camera, blackboard, bulletin, map, chart, diagram. Third, both eyes and ears like sound motion picture, television. Fourth, activity like educational tour and travel. Fifth, other ways and means like newspaper, book, and yogic dramas. Various aids we used in teaching, that is, blackboard, bulletin board, graphic devices, illustrated textbook, magnetic board, yogic models, overhead projector, wall poster, charts, yogic pictures, tape recorder, gramophone, loudspeaker, television, video compact disc, and LCD. Teacher should use teaching aid regularly in class situation. He should use at least blackboard with stick figure. The impression created through the media remain for longer time. The teaching aid are the motivators, but they can't replace teacher. The teaching aid can be kept displayed throughout the class period. The attention of the student is drawn to the subject matter only. The skills are learnt better. The objective of teaching is fulfilled. The various teaching aids which are mostly used include blackboard, bulletin board, pictures of all kinds, diagram, sketches, drawing, charts, models, projected devices such as film strips, slides, motion pictures and recordings, videos, cassettes, and television. Visual demonstration is one of the most effective aids to enhance the learning of motor activity. There are individual differences related to the manner in which various kind of sensory information is effectively used by the students. Some students have remarkable ability to quickly organize visually presented information. It is desirable that the teacher himself should give the demonstration of particular yoga practice. The teacher can communicate with his student better through the demonstration stage by him. At the same time, he should verbally explain clearly the fundamental principle underlying the yoga practice. Any practice by the student must be preceded by visual demonstration to be effective. Now, the topic is art and science of questioning in yoga teaching. Teaching is an art as well as science. Teaching is a science because it follows certain scientific principle. It is systematized branch of knowledge that follows the principle of physiology, psychology, sociology, and pedagogy. However, the principles of teaching can't be reduced into formula as done. Teaching is an art because it is talented and skillful job on the part of the teacher. Some person are born teachers as they have an inborn talent in teaching, but an individual can acquire art and science of teaching skill through proper training and practice. Learning through question answer method is associated not only with the academic subjects but also can be used and applied in teaching yogic practices. Right from the ancient days, when rishis or munis used to teach the means of teaching was mostly through question and answer method. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, one gets the reference of this method saying Prashna Seva or Sevaya, meaning through question and answer. Guru used to clarify the doubt of Shishyas out of various methods of teaching. Question and answer method of teaching is the oldest one and very much effective and popular even today, being one of the means even from the child level to a student can be taught in a class with question answer method to some extent. Now the aim of questioning. The aim of questioning is to help the teacher to understand the ability of the child or student and to understand the past and present status of the students. First, it helps in motivating of activating the student so as to draw his or her attention towards the subject matter. Second point, it develops interest and goes on developing question minded, which in turn help not to remain idle. Third, teacher understand the ability of the student and in which subject he takes interest. Fourth, teacher understands whether the child has understood his teaching or not. This helps him to go further ahead of the subject. Now, it is to add new knowledge with the old. Sixth point, it allows the child to think and develop the habit to think. Seventh point, it understand it is to understand the difficulty of the child. Eighth point, if the answer is well received by the teacher, he then can think that his teaching is successful. Ninth point, it is to help the student at various phases of learning. 10th point and the last one, it also help to develop mental faculty. Now there are various kind of question. Let's focus on that. First is introductory question. It is to find the depth and past experience knowledge of the student, and next to add something new into it by creating further interest. A. To begin with the lesson, yoga teacher put an introductory questions like what do you mean by asanas? B. Only one two question should be asked to begin with. Second type of question, that is developing question. This helps the teacher to develop the student in a particular study or learning subject matter. The students are compelled to use their brain, rationalize the issue, and increase their observation power. For an example, how many systems are there in this chart of the human body? What are their functions? What are your where is your liver situated? Where is kidney situated? What is the function of it? Is there any relation of the organ to any other organs? How many pranas, chakras, nadis, vital points are there in yogic anatomy physiology? How do yogic practices work on different systems? Fourth, thought provoking questions. This is usually this is used especially to develop new ideas. More so, the teacher draws maximally the attention of the student and to involve the student maximally by drawing their attention toward the lesson. So the examples of thought provoking question are: what is the relationship of muscular system and doing of asana? What is the relation of nervous system and pranayamic breathing? What could be the sequence of learning different yogic practices give rational? Do we get any reference about it in traditional text? Now, the fifth type of question, that is problematic question. Just like a topic selected from history regarding a world war, a teacher places a problem before the student to solve the same. Is pranayama related to respiratory or nervous system? Is control of breath is pranayama? Is singing or weightlifting when in one controlled breath then be called as pranayama? Is it because chest expand, we breathe in and we breathe out, and hence chest expand? Which one is true? Which part of your chest expand more when you breathe in? When you breathe in, abdomen and or chest or clavicle or abdomen gets in, chest bulge out. What will happen if we take out kidney from the body? Fourth type of question, that is question of comprehension. This type of question is asked when a view to give good understanding about the lesson that the teacher present in the class situation. This type of question will gradually increase the grasping power of the students about the topic, and the clarity of thinking will be increased. Like, why should we follow the principles of asana? What are the principles of pranayama? Why bandha and are necessarily in pranayama or kumbhakas? How should one practice asanas? Now, another type of questions is comparison question. One learns the lesson effectively by way of comparison and thereby differentiating two from each other. What are the difference between asana and exercise? How mudras are different than asanas? What are the difference between normal pranayama and deep breathing? Now, there is recapitulatory question. Why do we do asana and pranayama? What is the role of bandha and mudra? How many steps are there in yoga according to Patanjali Yoga Darshana? How many steps are there in yoga according to Gerand Samhita? How many steps are there in yoga according to Hat Pradipika? Now, we will focus on the basic features of good questions. To ask question is an art as well as science. There are certain do's and don'ts. It should be short and sweet. By no means it should be lengthy. It should be pinpointed. Question should be asked according to students' age and sex. Ask harder question to mature students and easier to the poor students. Language of the question should be easy. Teachers should not use harder words. Fourth point, all questions should such which motivate the child or student. Question should be thrown to all and not to any particular students. Question should be meaningful and relevant to the topic. Ask the question politely. Do not attack any students in particular to harass him or her. Don't ask question quickly. Give the student time to think and interact. Do not ask repeatedly the question. Change sentence when repeated. Don't ask yes or no type question, for it could be vague. Don't ask the question only for the sake of questioning. Don't ask incomplete question. Lastly, while presenting a lesson, the yoga teacher can do well if he puts certain question in a class situation to begin with. Now, let's focus on the lesson planning. The advantages of written lesson plan are: first point, it helps the teacher to organize his thinking. It increases the teacher's confidence and prevents him or her from losing direction during the lesson. Third point, it helps the teacher to keep the teaching procedure and objectives in the mind. It ensures availability of necessary materials and saves last minutes rush to provide adequate arrangement and anxiety caused by the situation. Fifth point, it serves as an aid for future plan. Now, essential of good plan. It should be prepared shortly before use. It should be specific and detailed. It should cognizance of individual differences. It should also include statement of objective of the lesson, statement material needed, description of method and procedure to be used, provision for linking previous and future plan to be used, provision for comments by the teacher of the lesson. So here are some guidelines for conducting yoga lessons successfully. First, setting the atmosphere. A yoga class should begin with the claim and quiet atmosphere. It may start when short period or with a prayerful mood. As far as possible, some meditative posts may be recommended for this purpose. The students are asked to take that. Second, introduction of the practice. The main part of the lesson starts with the introduction of the yoga practice. This introductory part may be divided into two sections. The first part may be devoted to the verbal instruction with the background of practice, containing as much information about the practice as possible. This part is specially intended to create interest and motivation among the student, depending upon the knowledge of the teacher about the practice and his or her skill in presenting the information. The teacher can make this part more interesting and motivating. Now, third, demonstrating the practice. The second part may be devoted to the ideal demonstration of the yoga practice as a whole. Although it is possible to take the help of audio visual aids like pictures, sketches, film strips, etc., it is more impressive, practical, and desirable that the demonstration is staged by the teacher himself. As far as possible, this demonstration should be most efficient, faultless, and complete so that an overall image of the practice is presented to the students as compared to the presentation of particular yoga practice through an audio visual mean. When the teacher himself demonstrates the practice, of students can relate personally to the teacher and identify more closely with the practice shown. This is more appreciation and respect for the teacher generated through live demonstration. Fourth, analyzing the practice. The whole demonstration of the yoga practice may be useful in forming an overall general picture, but it may not be enough to get into detailed stages of the technique, which require analysis of that practice. The insight into proper technique is gained only by analyzing the practice in its various parts and then demonstrating them. The analysis of the yoga practice is more essential when the technique is difficult. When the practice is simple, a demonstration as a whole would be sufficient and the analysis may not be necessary. When the practice is analyzed and demonstrated in parts, it is desirable to supplement it with a brief and clear description about techniques, bringing to the notice of the students silent point of the practice. These silent points should include hints about do's and don't. Fifth point, student individual practice time. When students see a technique demonstrated, they naturally want to try it out themselves. So allot some time for the student to try it on their own, individually, and to find out themselves how successfully they are able to practice it. While students are practicing, the teacher watch their performance and find out their difficulties, mistake, and deviation from correct and ideal performance of practice. He should correct the most obvious mistake of those students who are practicing in a way that is detrimental to them and then point out mistakes that are committed generally. A repeat demonstration of the student as a whole and in part should be given to ensure the points of the correction has been understood by everyone. Now, sixth point is group practice. After getting the feel of practice and becoming conversant with the technique, the teacher may ask the whole group of the student to perform the practice together under the guidance of the teacher in a formal manner. Collective participation in the group will give an idea to the individual about his performance in relation to the performance of other. Seven, correcting mistakes. Performance in the group by the students help the teacher to locate any performance that has deviated from normal and which need corrections. This saves the time of the teacher in checking every individual's performance, he can concentrate on the particular student who are not performing the technique properly. He can suggest necessary modification in the performance of the student or suggest some lead up practice in case of particular individual if necessary. Yoga practices being essentially individualistic when they are performed by the group, individual capacities should be taken into consideration. Now, eighth point, giving instruction. In the group practice, when direction are used, it should be remembered that their purpose is to suggest different stages of practice to be undergone in succession. The commands of the instruction should therefore have a very slow rhythm so that the jerky motion in response to brisk instruction are avoided and due respect is given to the individual capacities. The emphasis should be on an informal way of performance rather than formal one. Now, repeat demonstration. The performance of yoga practice by the group should be followed by pointing out the lacunas still remaining in the performance of some individuals, suggesting proper correction and avoiding the mistakes committed by the individual, and elaborating on some points which need clarification on explanation. 10 point, repeat practice as well. The group should then repeat the practice of the technique. Repeat demonstration. The teacher should demonstrate and clarify the main points again. Rest period. After the practice is over, the student may be given rest in form of shavasana, the yogic way of relaxation. When more then one yoga practice is introduced, it is desirable that Savasana is practiced at the end of the lesson and sometime even after some yoga practice during the lesson if necessary. To precise step in conduct of yogic lesson, the whole process include first creating an environment suitable for learning by a prayer of prayerful mood. Second, establish the concept of yoga practice by verbal introduction, giving the complete picture of the yoga practice through whole demonstration. Fourth point, analyzing the whole performance into suitable part of the stages. Fifth point, allotting time for getting the feel of practice by individual. Sixth point, group practice under the guidance and supervision of the teacher. Seventh point, detection and correction of the mistake in the performance. Eighth point, giving instruction while emphasis on the silent point, analyzing the performance again. 9 point, giving complete demonstration with clear explanation of various stages involved in the practice. 10th, again practice by the group. 11 point, again providing complete picture of the whole practice by demonstration, discussion, modification when necessary, lead up practice for weaker student. 12th point, giving complete rest in savasana at the end in the practice type of yoga lesson. So there are a couple of points. There are groups of yoga practice undergone. The practice are meaningfully chosen from amongst the known techniques. There is some sequence based on the principle of progression. As far as possible, variety of groups of yogic practice are chosen for giving maximum benefit through stretching, relaxation, breathing technique, and meditation. So there are features of meditation. During meditation, one gets profound rest for the body and the mind. Oxygen consumption can be lowered during 20 to 30 minutes of meditation to a degree which can be reached after 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Second point, heart and respiratory rate typically decrease. There is shift to parasympathetic dominance. There is lowering of anxiety at this time. During meditation, EEG shows an alert drowsy pattern which high with high alphas and occasional theta waves pattern as well as unusual pattern of swift shift from alpha to slower frequencies and then back again. Meditation has been physiologically termed as wakeful or hypometabolic state. When practiced regularly, it appears that meditation alters behavior suggesting number of beneficial changes. There are some sort of caution or precautions. Meditation has its limitation. All person can't practice meditation even for 20 to 30 minutes. Overdose of meditation, such person can be dangerous. The theory of more the better can't be applied here. To avoid such difficulties, meditation should be practiced in moderation. It would be beneficial to start the practice of meditation after some amount of practice in stretching like asanas, rhythmic breathing like pranayama, and relaxation techniques like savasana. Now here the last point, self-evaluation by the teacher. In the evaluation of the teacher should ask himself such a question as whether he puts enough time and thought on planning lessons that have purpose and progression, whether his student respond enthusiastically, whether he has a new experience in teaching, whether he could improve upon what he is doing with different procedure and organization, whether he could give more time and attention to the student who lack up behind skill, whether the students improve in the performance in general.